some money, nigga. The fuck I'ma do with 200? What's not clicking, Steven? Cash at me right now. Hurry up.
How to ask a man for money? How to get money from a man? This is a very common question in the sprinkle sprinkle community. And, since I am sprinkle sprinkle adjacent, I'm technically a sprinkle, part of the sprinkle sprinkle community, but not really. But anyways, since I'm sprinkle sprinkle adjacent, I am going to answer this question. But first, before I even answer this question, I want to tell you ladies something about men. Because if you understand men, you will understand why this is such a common question. Because men are not inherently generous at all. Because if men were, women wouldn't be under my videos, in my comment section. Even if you go on Shira's videos, you will see those questions being asked. I've been asked this question so many times. I've been asked on my Patreon, and I never really address it because the answer that I'm about to give you is not going to be what you want to hear. Don't worry, I'll tell you how to ask, but we need a lesson in men, okay? So before I get into it, if you are on my Patreon or you've been thinking about signing up, I did a series, a 3-part series on my Patreon called The Truth About Men. It is one of my most groundbreaking work. It is my highest performance series on my Patreon. I invited even sex workers to come and talk about the truth about men. That series would literally remove the rose-colored glasses that you have on men. It will make you understand men. And once you understand men, then you will never be afraid to ask for what you want. Bold. Because a lot of y'all are scared. The reason why you're asking me how to ask for money is because you are scared. Why are you scared? Because society tells you that you shouldn't ask and you shouldn't, you should drop hints. Like, people give you a lot of silly ass advice. I believe that closed mouths don't get fed. But anyways, if you would like to listen to that series, I highly recommend that you sign up to my Patreon and go and listen to those 3 series. Those videos are like up to 3 hours long. So, make sure you get a cup of tea and some snacks while you're listening to that. The link is in the description. Now, moving on. And this is what I'm going to tell you about men. Most men are consumers. What do I mean by most men are consumers? What do I mean by that? Most men are not interested in investing in you. Most men are not interested in pouring into you. Most men are interested in consuming you. Once you understand this, that men are consumers and energy vampires, the way you approach men would be different. When a man approaches you, he approaches you usually for one thing. He sees you as a sexual conquest. He also sees you as a tool to fulfill whatever need or whatever whim he got going on. And this is most men, not all, obviously. When I say most men, like upwards of 85% of men. So you understand that he sees you as a tool, he sees you as an object, he sees you as a sexual conquest. The only reason why he's even talking to you or giving you the time of day is because he's sexually attracted to you. And I'm not talking about your daddy or your brothers. But yes, your daddy and your brothers are also consumers. They mostly are. Because if your mother is not well taken care of and cherished and poured into and is living a soft life, if your father is not providing that for your mother, then your father is a consumer. Men are only interested in consuming your energy, your beauty, your body, your everything. And they will leave you depleted and then they will discard you. That's what they're interested in doing. I don't really like to talk about this because I don't like women to feel discouraged and feel like, there is no possible way that they will have a good relationship with a man. But the truth needs to be told. Secondly, if a man is interested in you in marriage, he's interested in what he can get from you. He's not interested in what he can give to you and what he can provide. Okay? Because if you understand the true purpose of a wife, the role of a wife from the beginning of time, then you will understand why men see women as interchangeable or disposable, right? When marriage was invented, and it was invented by the patriarchy, women were traded like cattle. Back in the day, if you had cattle and land, you were very rich. If you had daughters, young, beautiful daughters, you were also very rich because you can trade those daughters as wives. Men will literally sell their daughters the same way that they will sell cattle. Okay, they will sell their daughters to the highest bidder or just to get them off their hands, because keeping a woman around in some cases was a burden, especially with the upper class. With the lower class or the peasant class or whatever, they will just put you to work immediately. Okay, you'll just be working. If you don't believe me, I'm going to share something with you, because a man sees you as a property that he can control and do whatever he pleases. All right, let me share this with you all. All right, there we go. If you do not know about this custom that happened around the 17th century up until the mid-19th century, okay, this is very recent, right? Wife selling, which was a custom in England. England is not the only country that had this custom of selling their wives. So anyways, let's move on. Wife selling in England was a way of ending an unsatisfactory marriage that probably began in the late 17th century, when divorce was a practical impossibility for all but the very wealthiest. After parading his wife with a halter around her neck, arm or waist, a husband would publicly auction her to the highest bidder. Wife selling provides the backdrop for Thomas Hardy's 1886 novel, The Mayor of Casterbridge, in which the central character sells his wife at the beginning of the story, an act that haunts him for the rest of his life and ultimately destroys him. Although the custom had no basis in law and frequently resulted in prosecution, particularly from the mid-19th century onwards, the attitude of the authorities was equivocal. At least one early 19th century magistrate is on record as stating that he did not believe he had the right to prevent wife sales, and there were cases of local poor law commissioners forcing husbands to sell their wives rather than having to maintain the family in workhouses. And what's a workhouse? A workhouse in Britain and Ireland, a workhouse was an institution where those unable to support themselves financially were offered accommodation and employment. If you wanted accommodation, you go there and you work, kind of like sweatshops or whatever. I don't know. The only reason why I know what a workshop was is because I read Oliver Twist years ago when I was a child. So that's a very old English word. Wife selling persisted in England in some form until the early 20th century, according to the jurist and historian James Bryce. Writing in 1901, wife sales were still occasionally taking place during his time. In one of the last reported instances of a wife sale in England, a woman giving evidence in a Leeds police court in 1913 claimed she had been sold to one of her husband's workmates for £1. The reason why I'm sharing this is because I want you to see how men have historically seen us as women. They see us as property, as a tool, as something to consume, something to work, to get profit from. They in no way were ever interested in giving you anything, investing in you. They get a wife, so the wife will work for them, free labor, give them sex and children and a family and a legacy, and work for free. And they will use you for profit as well. They don't mind making you work and paying 50-50, okay? If a man wants you to go 50-50, he is using you. He sees you as a tool. He does not love you. I don't care what nobody says. This man is not interested in investing in you and giving you anything. Some of y'all can't even get a text back, and some of y'all can't even get flowers on your birthday. You can't even get that. You think you're going to get money? No, stay with me. Okay, stay with me. Your role as a wife is an indentured servant. What is an indentured servant? Let's get into it. So, what is indentured servitude? Indentured servitude is a form of labor in which a person is contracted to work without salary for a specific number of years. So when you agree to marry a man, what you are agreeing to is indentured servitude for many years, or for as long as you stay in the marriage, or for as long as the marriage lasts, or for the rest of your life. The contract called an indentured may be entered voluntarily, purported eventual compensation or debt repayment, or imposed involuntary as a judicial punishment. The practice have been compared to the similar institution of slavery, although there are differences. So, Back in the day, you had indented servitude, you had slavery, you had apprenticeship, okay? An apprenticeship, an apprentice worked with no pay for a master tradesman to learn a trade. So even as an apprenticeship, you might work for up to 7 years because it usually lasted for 7 years or less, okay? At least you're leaving with a trade and a way to make money. When you get married to a man and you're sitting up there in the house, taking care of his kids, doing the laundry, cooking and cleaning, and being a stay-at-home wife and a trad wife or whatever, you have to understand that the labor that you are doing in that house, in that marriage, is invisible labor. So when you leave that marriage or you get discarded or he divorces you or whatever, and then you try to enter the workforce, nobody wants you. Because what skills do you have other than homemaking? Oh yeah, you can do laundry. Oh yeah, you cook and you make apple pies, whatever. This is how men sees you. If you want, you can go and do some research yourself. You can research the role of a wife in the Middle Ages, a role of a wife in Roman Empire, a role of a wife in Victorian time. You can do your research because if I do that, this video will be too long. And of course, the person that asked that question is waiting for their answer. All right. So I showed you all this to show you that men are consumers. A man is not interested in giving you anything more than is required. He's not interested in giving you flowers. That's why it's like pulling teeth to get him to buy you flowers. He's not interested in celebrating your birthday. He don't give a shit about that. He don't care. He only does it. Some of them only do it because when they do that, it ensures that they have access to you, okay? And if you're the wife, they do that. They give you gifts for your birthday, for Valentine's Day, for Christmas or whatever, because it is expected of them. And they want to make peace in the relationship and they want to keep you happy because all of that shit is breadcrumbing. That's basically what it is. And another thing is the reason why men court and give women gifts and stuff like that is because it's a result of the invention of romance, okay? It is a result of the invention of romance. Romantic relationships are new. Marriage was a business contract between two families. And no, not two families, two patriarchs. Okay, let's be real. All right, because your daddy was the one finding a husband for you and negotiating your dowry and your marriage or whatnot. Okay, especially if you came from upper class. Again, if you were peasant class, they just marry you off to whoever and they put you off to work. Okay, you just go straight to work. You go work in the house. You do all the dishes, and in those days there were no washing machines and electronic stoves and microwaves. There was none of that shit. There was nothing to make your labor easy. It was backbreaking labor. That was your role as a woman. That's how men saw you. They saw you as a way to make their life easier. They saw you as a way to make more money. They saw you as an opportunity for status, etc. And it's the same today. Now, you can tell how much you're going to get from a man based on his relationship with money. Most men have very negative relationship with money. A lot of them are very cheap. They complain about things being expensive. They will tell you that we don't have that money to go on that vacation, even though you can go on that vacation. They will tell you there's no money for that or whatnot. Yet still they will turn around and use that money to fund their hobbies. A hobby like golfing is expensive, it's not cheap. Okay. They will take that money and pay strippers and escorts up to $500 or even $1,000 or even more. That's what they will do with your money. During the pandemic, because I want y'all to go and listen to the truth about men on my Patreon. Go do it, ladies. But anyways, during the pandemic, men were literally going into the bathroom because, your man goes to the bathroom and he's there, he goes in there with his phone. You have no idea what he's doing there on that phone in that bathroom. He's sitting up in there for like a whole hour. Men were going into the bathroom, hiding in the bathroom to talk to girls on OnlyFans or phone sex websites. They were spending hundreds of dollars on that shit, maybe upwards of thousands. Because a man would only spend money on something that he values and something that brings him joy or something that brings him pleasure. That's what he spend money on. You are an indentured servant if you're his wife. Why would he spend money on you? Now, if you're a girlfriend or you're dating, he is motivated to spend money on you in some way because he's trying to trap you. he's trying to get you to give him sex, to be in a relationship with him, make him look good, give him status. He gets to tap into your feminine energy, which is very valuable. He gets to be seen with a beautiful woman on his arms. He gets to impress his friends, all of which is very valuable. And it shouldn't come for free. It should come with requirements and a price. So, and when I say a price, obviously some women prices are different. Some women are happy sitting in their car at the McDonald's drive-thru, and some women would require, like a 5-star dinner or whatever, and expensive gift, etc. Everybody has a price. You need to figure out what your price is and what your standards are and what you're willing to accept. Okay? Now, to answer your question, to ask a man for money, just ask. But I know, easier said than done, right? Now, what I want you to do before you even start asking men for money, you have to start requiring that the person who wants to be in a relationship with you to spend money on you and spoil you. Okay, if that is what you want. That's the first thing you should do. So all the stingy men, all the broke men, all the men that you have in your contacts that don't have no money and they're not generous or whatnot, you need to delete all of them or block all of them. Why are they in your life? Why are they in your phone? Okay, so you need to have this new standard where you are not dating anyone who doesn't spend money on you. Because people will tell you, oh, go date rich men. That's not the answer. If you want to be spoiled, and you want men to spend money on you, you can do one of two things. You can either sell that pussy, put a price on it, or you should have a certain standard where no man should get your time and attention on your body unless they invest in you. I'm assuming that the person that is asking the question is not interested in selling their body, so we're not even going to get into that, okay? Now that you have this standard, okay, and make sure you write it down, and make sure that it's in your subconscious. And you do not, under any circumstances, entertain a man who is not willing to start spending money from day one. And that includes rich men, because again, like I said, it's easier said than done. Start dating rich men. Do you know what it's like dating rich men, especially men from old money? They don't give you money. Just because they have money, that doesn't mean they're going to give you money. That doesn't mean they're going to spend money on you. You need to date men that are generous. And usually men that are generous, they will show their generosity from the beginning. Okay, so that means you have to stop accepting coffee dates. You have to stop that. You have to have a certain standard, because if that man is only investing $5 on the first date, it is not going to get better. Okay, you're going to get the most from a man during the honeymoon phase, the honeymoon stage of the relationship. So only entertain men that are willing to put in the extra effort to impress you and spend more money. If they're not doing that, do not entertain them. What's the point? Secondly, just ask. Just ask. Say, I need $1,000 or I need whatever. Just ask for it, okay? Last point and most important point, you have to let these men know your expectations, basically. You have to let them know what your expectations are. Because you're going to start dating and then they will want to take the relationship to the next level. They might want to come to your house, and by the next level, I mean they want to move on to sex. At this point, you are going to say, I don't sleep with anyone that I'm not in a committed relationship with. Then they're going to ask, okay, well, let's be in a relationship. And then you're going to say, well, I have a requirement for any man that wants to be in a relationship with me. Okay, he has to spoil me. He has to spend money on me. He has to give me money. Whether it be a monthly allowance or whatever it is, you have to tell them that. Because if you don't, you're going to be entertaining someone, getting in a relationship with someone, then it gets too deep and then you never get no money. You just waste your time and your energy. Because if this is important to you, you have to let them know. You would only consider a relationship, a committed relationship, if he's willing to step up and be a provider and start paying for shit, like paying your rent or something. There was a story, I can't remember if it was Wendy Dang. I can't remember if it was her, but I could be wrong though. But it was a story that was shared in the community some years ago, where this man approached this woman at an event, and she said, I'm not interested unless you give me $150,000. Like, put $150,000 into my bank account. Other than that, I'm not interested. And guess what he did? That's exactly what he did. Because if you put a price on it, on your time, etc., that man would respect you a lot more, number one. And number two, the more money a man spends on you, the more he falls in love with you. So by you going with a man and a man that doesn't give you money, a man that is stingy, that man will never fall in love with you. That man will always be the prize, and that man will use you and consume you. That's what he's going to do. And if a man is not willing to invest money into you, because for some reason, men and the way men see money is very weird. They have like this weird relationship with money. Like I don't know what it is, but and honestly, I don't know how to explain it, but men are very emotionally attached to their money. Let's say that, okay? They're emotionally attached to their money. Because if you're his wife and you go and you take out like 5,000 or 10K from his bank account, that's gonna hurt. He's not gonna like that. So yeah, they're very emotionally attached to their money, and most of it is probably based on fear or whatnot, but it's very strange. It's very strange because, there were these trends on social media where women were pretending that they spend like a lot of money on basic products like lipstick and stuff like that. And the men were going crazy. Some of these men damn near had heart attacks. Like it was funny to watch. But yeah, so first thing you got to do is ask. If you want money, just ask. Secondly, do not entertain men that are not willing to spend money on you. Okay, because you can't be up in here. A lot of y'all would ask questions and wonder how some girls get men to spend money on them and how some girls get men to spoil them. Because they're not giving it up for free. They are not entertaining men that are not spoiling them and spending money on them. And they're not trying to change a man who is stingy or not very generous. They're not going to try to change him to give them money. They're not going to do that. Those girls, once they realize that a man is tight with money, they leave. They move on. When those girls realize that those men are not interested in pouring into them, investing into them, they move on. Most men are consumers. When you look at most marriages, look at the wife. She looks tired, run down. The marriages where you see the woman that is spoiled, taken care of, those marriages actually last the longest. And you see the woman, she's looking young, skin is looking good, edges looking good, teeth looking good, and she goes on vacations with her girlfriend, like no expense is spared. You know what I mean? There are women like that. There are women that live that lifestyle, and those women, they inherently choose, well, not okay, inherently is not the word. Let me rephrase it. Those women, they choose those type of men on purpose. They choose those men with intentions. Most of those women are not just lucky, because the trick is, and I shouldn't call it a trick, but this is what you should look for. If your quality of life improves when that man enters your life, that's when you know you are with a man who is going to invest in you, someone who's going to pour into you. If your life improves, you're more relaxed, you have more money, you have more time to do things that you love, and you being in a relationship with him or marrying him doesn't increase your labor, that's how you know. That's how you know. He's not emotionally needy, so you don't have to perform a lot of emotional labor. All of that is a good sign. And those men, I'm going to be real, they're rare. But, I'm not saying that they don't exist. They're rare. They're not unicorns, but, they're out there. Because, a unicorn is a mythical creature. And, men that are willing to pour into their wives and take care of their wives and make sure their wives' lives are comfortable, those men exist. Okay, I am married to one of those men. Been married 11 years, and guess what? My husband still makes me breakfast and still bring me breakfast in bed. I don't have to do a bunch of labor, barely do anything in this house. I barely lift a finger. Those men exist, all right? So if being in a relationship with this person requires you to work and perform labor and do all that extra stuff, and your life is not getting better, you feel like your life is getting worse, and you feel like if you are putting in a lot of energy, but you're not getting a return on your investment, that's how you know. So if you want a man who is not a consumer, you have to stop entertaining consumers. You have to entertain men that are generous, look for generosity, and go ahead and ask. Because asking is the easiest way to weed out men that do not have good intentions. It's that simple. Just asking. Do not be afraid. The reason why you're afraid to ask is because you're afraid of being alone. You're afraid of losing someone who don't give a shit about you, and that's pathetic. If he gives you what you want, it tells you everything. If he doesn't, or he makes excuses, or he says no, then cut it off, okay? You don't want to waste time with somebody like that. If this is what you want, okay, I'm answering this person's question. This is how you ask for money. I honestly hope that this video was helpful. I really do. Anyways, subscribe to this channel. My goal is 10K. Help me get to 10K subscribers. And like this video and share this video with a friend. And of course, thank you for listening.